welcome to Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. I am here with the beautiful Jennie, A.K.A.
Jeannie Von Jazz.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fabulous. It is snowy and cold here.
It's snowy here too.
Yeah. I opened up the window this morning and looked outside and I was like, okay, I slept until January. Okay, weird, but whatever.
It's so strange. Yeah. I mean, I'm in Michigan, so it's like one day it's 60 degrees and the next day it's like 30.
We literally had a day last week where it was 80 degrees. And now this week we have 2 inches of snow. I don't get it. Mother Nature is pissed. I don't know what we did, but she is off her medication and she is bipolar. And it's all over the map. Just to kind of introduce Jennie to the world out there, she is a fellow pinup friend of mine. I actually met her in Detroit this year, 2020, February, for Miss Detroit Autorama. And she came in, she got to stand next to me on the stage for this year's Detroit Autorama, and we all were fabulous. It was a hard competition. There's 25 girls, and I promise you, every girl brought their A game. I didn't see anybody that I can even remotely think could have won. I thought everybody was above whatever I was doing. I was just like, oh my god, look at her outfit. Oh my god, look at her hair. Oh, it's just everybody was just on point. So this one right here is one of the main culprits that made me feel like I wasn't gonna win, because she made a homemade dress that was inspired by, who was it inspired by?
Well, it was a little bit of Mae West. And then just my own ideas. I like to sketch and draw gowns, and
that's even more amazing because it's even more amazing. But it was this pink, velvet, crushed velvet material, and it was different shades of pink, not all the same. And it just hugged her like a mermaid style, and she had a hat that went with it. It was perfect. She had
it's right there.
But for real, the talent to be able to make your own outfit, Jennie, is first of all just amazing. And then for it not to look like someone's curtains were thrown on you is even more so amazing. Because if I would have made my outfit, it would have not came out like that.
It is so funny that you say that, because I just started sewing this last summer. So last March, not this last March, but a year ago March, there was a Rio Town thrift gala where you have to make your outfit out of all things that you found at the thrift store. So I bought a dress, and then I embellished it with all of these flowers that I bought from all over thrift stores in town. And I had so much fun with that. I was like, okay, well now I need to learn how to sew, because I really love that no one else has this dress, because I designed it myself. So the first dress that I ever sewed and competed with was made out of curtains. So it's really funny that you say it didn't look like there were curtains thrown on you. Because when I won Miss Metro Cruise, I made that one out of curtains that and bed sheets that I found at the thrift shop.
That's hilarious. So what I usually have the girls do is give me pictures. So definitely, if you have pictures of this dress, I know you have pictures of Detroit, but definitely these other dresses that you've made, just so people out there in the world can see your talent. And this is only a year in. Just imagine 5 years from now what you'll be making. Okay, I'm gonna put my order in now, and you become this major seamstress or whatever. I'll tell you my measurements off camera, because nobody else is gonna know them. But I'll tell you them off camera, and we can talk about maybe making me a one of a kind.
Yeah, maybe once I get a little bit more experienced.
Hey.
Right now, I never know what my dresses are gonna look like until I get done, because I'm like, oh, that didn't work. I have to totally do something else.
But you know what? That's why you always have a backup plan.
Yup.
You know what I'm saying? Like a good pinup has 2 dresses always on reserve, not one.
Very true.
2.
Very true.
So we'll just get kind of started right into this. I was talking to Jennie a little bit off the camera, and she was just kind of like describing like her childhood and like just growing up, and she said she had a pretty like awesome kid like childhood. Like it was pretty average, and you know she didn't have too many of the unusual things that you can have as a child, except for one little thing that a lot of us have struggled with. A lot of us are still struggling with. I know I'm struggling with it right now. And that is the weight struggle. And that is something that is not talked about enough in the world, because I think people just automatically assume if you're a bigger gal or a bigger guy, you just got to put the cheeseburger down. And that is not exactly what it always is.
No.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I started counting calories when I was 8 years old. So,
Wow.
I mean, I had just learned how to add. And so that's what I was adding, you know?
Bless your heart. That's all.
So yeah, I mean, it's been like a struggle really my whole life. And I wasn't overeating as a kid. I was eating normal things. I wasn't a super active kid, but you know, my mom would take me on walks and we would go on bike rides, and you know, I wasn't inactive. I just have always had a slow metabolism.
Yep. And we were talking about that off camera, that a lot of times people have a medical reason behind their weight gain. And because of people's ignorance, they just assume that because you're overweight, you just have to be sitting at home just shoveling food in your mouth all day, or you're lazy. I love that one. People think you're just automatically lazy. It's just so disheartening when I hear some of the things that people say about people, especially when they do not know that person's struggle, especially when you have not walked a day in that person's shoes.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to hearing your story, because this one personally, like I told you off camera, relates a lot to me. So it's going to be a little bit more near and dear to me because I understand this a lot. So let's just start with, basically, you said let's start at 8 years old. You started to count your calories already at this age. How did you even know how to do it? Like, I would have known what I was doing.
Well, I was pretty overweight as a kid. And so my mom, I mean, she meant well, but she was trying to teach me how to eat healthy. So she would teach me, you know, an apple has 100 calories, or, you know, this bag of chips has this many calories. And, you know, this is where the goal should be for the end of the day, so that we're eating healthy because we want our bodies to be healthy. But yeah, so I started counting calories when I was 8. And
how many calories did your mom say you should be eating a day as a kid? I know what it is suggested as like an adult, but what was she?
I think it was 12 or 1400, something like that. And also I've always been short.
Girl.
So, but I don't know if that's the exact number she gave or not, but
that sounds about right, because it's about 1200, 1400 calories.
Yeah. So all the way until 5th grade, I still was just chunky, overweight, like baby fat, like round-faced little blonde girl. And then in 5th grade, she started taking me to the doctor once a week to weigh in, so that we could see like where I was at, because I was unhealthy and chubby. And so the summer, though, between 5th grade and 6th grade, I like had a growth spurt, and my like baby fat started going down. And so walking into 6th grade, I felt like I am so hot, like 12-year-old me or 11-year-old
I know,
me.
someone was feeling themselves. They're like, I am just too cute.
I was like, yeah, I like finally felt like I looked good. And you know, I remember before school, she took me to Limited Too, and I got like this cute little plaid skirt with like a matching sweater. And I just remember like feeling like this is going to be the year that I'm going to be like popular, that I'm going to have friends, that people are going to like,
right.
you know, see me for me. But that's not what happened. I went to school and people saw me as the same person, and they didn't, you know, it was just not, it wasn't like the huge drastic change that I thought that the weight.
Oh, that had to be so disappointing to like have like these expectations and then basically have a bunch of kids, because we all agree children are heartless. They can be some of the cruelest people in the world.
They really can.
So how did you handle that when you got the response that you did and not what you thought it was going to be?
You know, I think I just kind of dealt with it. I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's a bummer. But I felt, you know, okay about where I was. But then 7th and 8th grade, I started gaining some of the weight back again. And I was a ballet dancer. Actually, I took 6 dance classes a week. So I did ballet, tap, jazz, and then they added hip hop in high school. So I started doing hip hop too. But I was dancing at least 6 hours a week plus my practice time at home.
Oh, wow.
So I danced a lot. So the fact that like my weight started coming back again was so frustrating for me, because not only was I gaining the weight back, but then 6 hours a week I was standing there in front of a mirror looking at myself and looking at all of the other girls in the class.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that has been hard.
Yeah, as an adolescent, that is like not an easy thing to do. I had a lot of friends who were just like naturally like very small size 2, like didn't have to worry about their weight.
They don't have to worry about it. They don't even work at it. It just happens. They just
had like these super high metabolisms and were super skinny, and that's just like how they were. And so I'd be in ballet class next to them standing at the bar, and I'm like, God, what am I doing wrong? You know?
Did you ever have it where like you were teased for your weight, or was it just like people just knew that you were just a little bit overweight, but nobody like really said anything?
I had some friends that teased me, but they weren't trying to, like it was innocent. Like I remember when I was 7 or 8, I was playing hopscotch with my friend, and she told me, well, my mom said I have to eat healthy or otherwise I'm going to look like you. And I remember just being like, oh, well, I do eat healthy. Like I don't eat a bunch of junk, you know? And so yeah, that was that same year that I had started to count calories too. So so that so I mean there would be comments like that, or I had a friend who called me Chubs all the time, and it was from a TV show and it had nothing to do with weight, but I didn't know that. And so I just assumed that she was calling me that because I was chubby. So, you know, there's a lot of those like things where friends would say stuff and I assumed, you know what I mean? So
I would have too. I mean, I would have too. Like that's not unusual for you to think if somebody's calling you chubs to think that they're talking about your
right.
That makes sense. So with you being in dance, which is it's just proving my point even more so, that here you are, you're eating healthy, even if it's not even by your choosing. Your mom sounds like she was pretty like strict and try to help you make the right decision. And you were in so many different like after school activities with dancing. What of the most hardest cardio, because I was on a dance team too.
Oh yeah.
And it is, when I say cardio city.
Oh yeah, it's intense.
For you to still be gaining weight, that is why struggling with your weight is so hard, because she did everything that she should have been doing and she still was having the weight loss roller coaster.
Yeah.
At what point did things become a little bit more of a spiral where you were doing this really unhealthy thing?
That didn't happen until my last year in college. maybe my last 2 years in college, I would say. So I met my husband when I was 14, and we waited until after we got our degrees to get married, or until after I got my degree. We wanted to make sure one of us had a career so we could support ourselves.
Smart.
Yeah. So before we got married, my mom said, I really want to make sure that you feel good on your wedding day. So she got me a membership to Weight Watchers. And at first it started out great because I was following their program and it was healthy and I was watching it, and each week I would go and I would lose my 2 pounds or whatever. And then when I started Weight Watchers, I was 190 pounds. When I got to 176, I plateaued. Like, I went in like 3 weeks in a row and there was no weight loss. And I was still eating according to their schedule, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm 5'3", so like that's,
Right.
that's not like a healthy range where you should be plateauing and staying the same.
Right.
So at that point I was like, okay, I guess I gotta like rev up the exercise and take in fewer points. So I thought, well, if I take off 2 points per week, then from the Weight Watcher point scale, then hopefully that'll help. And then I'll start making sure that I like jog around my apartment complex every day. So I started doing that, and I saw a little bit of weight loss, and I thought, okay, well, I could probably reduce it by 1 more point and it'll be fine.
Oh.
And then, so I would do that.
Slow.
Okay, I can go further, and so it kind of snowballed. And then my weigh-in day was on Saturdays. So every Friday night, I would wake up every 2 hours to make sure that I was, and I would step on the scale and see where I was at.
Oh, wow.
And if I hadn't lost anything, I would go jogging around the complex again. And so it was like, it just snowballed, and it was really unhealthy. And I got down to 145 pounds before my wedding, which was a size 6 for me.
You went from 190
Mm-hmm.
to 145.
Yep.
How long of a time span was that?
I think it was about a year.
Okay. It's not unheard of.
Right.
But
yeah. I mean, it was a healthy rate of weight loss. It just wasn't
in a healthy way
to go about it.
Let me put it this way: with what you were talking about, this is how I can, and I know I'm in the medical world, so I know I can decipher things easier just because I know the way that the body is. But just to kind of give you guys out there an idea of what she was doing. So, because she's talking about the points for like Weight Watchers, so I'm going to make it a little bit more lame. So let's say you ate something that's 400 calories. What she was doing was basically burning off more calories than what she was trying to put into our body, because we have to burn more calories than what we eat to lose weight. Yep. Otherwise, you take in as many calories as you're burning, and then that's how you stay the same. So yes. For you to actually lose weight, you got to burn more calories than what you're actually eating.
Yes.
So in theory, she should have been a 6-figure in a year. But because she has underlining other health things, that's why she wasn't only 100 pounds in a year doing this, and she still was only at 145, because there's something underlining that was slowing her metabolism down. Otherwise, what she was doing, and the reason why I don't want people to think, oh, that's good that she, no.
Right.
It's only because of her situation. Because a normal person, let's say you had a normal metabolism, you didn't have any kind of thyroid issue or any other kind of like you're not on any kind of medication that makes you gain weight. If you are just a normal person with a normal body, that kind of activity could really, really be detrimental.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's about to tell us some of the health things that she suffered from doing this. So even though she wasn't like a size 2 that she wanted to look like, she still had the bad after effects of doing this to her body. So I just kind of want to put that out there so that people don't think like, oh, well, that's why you have to do. No, I'm sure she's about to give us the negative side of all of this in a second.
Oh, yeah. And a really big issue for me, too, was that I would do that and I would get down so low. At one point, so when I started Weight Watchers, the recommended points for the program at that time, I think was 29 points a day. I got down to 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
That means you're only taking in maybe like 400 or 500 calories a day.
Yep. That is about where I was at.
Oh no. Oh God.
So, yep.
How did
And
you
I
have
was,
energy to do anything? How did you have energy to do anything?
coffee. And I slept a lot. A big thing that happened with me though was that I would do that for like 2 weeks, and then I would just like have this moment where I would just lose total control, and I would go through the fridge and I would eat one bite of each thing. One bite of each thing. It was like an OCD thing. And I would go through, and then I would feel really terrible about it. And then I would do my 13 points a day for another 2 weeks. And then I'd end up sobbing in front of the fridge, taking a bite of everything in the fridge. So,
when you say everything, is that even like taking a bite out of the stick of butter, or how is that?
I wouldn't take a bite of butter necessarily, but I would like take like a carrot, and I would take like a spoonful of leftovers, and I would take like a squirt of ketchup. Like it was pretty much everything.
I just wanted to kind of get like for people to understand like what you meant, because some
Yeah.
people have that too, where they'll even eat like pure butter or pure like mayo or something like that.
Yeah. I did do the condiments, but we never had like sticks of butter around in our apartment, so I don't ever remember doing that. But when I knew that a binge was coming, another thing that I would do is I would get all of these 0 points foods that are usually like, the idea is that 0 points foods are for things for when you're hungry to like supplement.
The snack on, like celery and stuff like that.
Well, some of it is celery and carrots. Some of it is like artificial, like fat-free Cool Whip. And diet soda and things like that are really not good for you.
Yeah.
So I also have a condition called interstitial cystitis. My whole urinary tract has basically ulcers. It doesn't have a lining. It's super cool. And I know now that one of my big trigger foods, gluten is the first one, but also like artificial sweeteners and grapes.
Oh no, and you're drinking all that diet pop and stuff.
Oh my gosh. I would get a big bowl of grapes, and I would cover them in fat-free Cool Whip, and I would mix them up, and I would eat that. And I would binge on that. And then I would have like this horrible IC flare up. Yep. And then the other thing I would do is I would freeze the fat-free Cool Whip, and I would spit it out and put it in diet soda to make like a completely 0 calorie, 0 point float.
I was gonna say like a root beer float.
Like a root beer float. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea once in a while.
Yeah.
When you're having a binge episode and you just eat all of that at once and you're like stuffing yourself with it, it's really bad. It was really, I mean, aspartame and stuff isn't good for you anyway. And then it would make my IC flare up. My fingers would get so swollen. My rings would be stuck on my fingers. I mean, it was bad. My skin, my skin was horrible. It was really not good. So
how often did you find yourself doing the binging? Like you said, every like 2 weeks, couple weeks?
Yep, every couple of weeks.
And would it just be like a day, or would that be like for a week?
It'd be like over a weekend. And then I'd be like, okay, Monday I'm getting back on track. And then on Monday I would get back on track and start doing my other disordered eating.
I was going to say, this has to be such a shock to your body to keep going from one extreme to the other extreme.
Yeah, like, it is not good for you at all. And it makes you feel like crap, like you don't have energy, and then all of a sudden you're super jittery, and then you are sluggish, and then you're...
Did you ever have like the hair loss or like the bad skin and stuff like
I
that?
had acne. I've always had cystic acne on my chin, and I don't necessarily think that's from the disordered eating, but during that year, my acne was worse than it normally is.
I know that's one of the first things like our patients will like kind of complain about when they're, because basically what you're suffering from, believe it or not, is like a malnutrition, because you're really not giving yourself enough nutrients to really sustain
yeah,
exactly. A healthy balance.
Yeah. So I have a cousin who also suffers from disordered eating, and she did have the hair loss and like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it was, it was a bad year. It sucked.
And this only lasted, this extreme only lasted for that 1 year.
So yeah, that lasted up until I got married. And then shortly after we got married, well, actually it was right before we got married, I got my first teaching job. And it was at a charter school, and it was about an hour away from where we lived. We'd already signed our lease when I got hired. So I was driving, actually it was about an hour and 15 minutes. So I was driving an hour and 15 minutes each way. And this school was not a good school. I didn't have a prep period. I had to supervise both breakfast and lunch, so I had to eat with the kids.
Right.
The school day went from 7:45 to 4:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really long school day.
I was going to say, that's longer than the average school day, right?
Right, yeah. And then on Fridays, we would have a half of a school day where we had to teach, like, electives.
Oh, so that's like when you did, like, the art and...
Well, they had regular art classes, but these were, like weird random classes. Like, the first semester, I taught puppetry and yoga. And I had never done yoga.
I was going to say, you've done puppetry, though?
Surprisingly, I had done puppetry. So
like, I've never done puppetry. I love how she's like, and I've never done yoga.
Yeah. So I have two like majors for my teaching degree. One is English, but the other is theater and communications.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the theatrical stuff was easier, because I could do that. But the one that really threw me through a loop was that the second semester, I had to teach a bike building class.
Like how to build an actual bicycle?
Yes. And I had no idea how to do that. And they pretty much put like all of the boys that maybe had some behavioral issues or things like that, they put them all in the class together. And then they had me and then another teacher. The two of us had to teach this class together and try to figure it out. They wanted the end goal to be for us to supply the city with public bike transportation where people could like take a bike, leave a bike.
Oh no.
Like funded by the school, but without giving us any money for it. It was really dumb. So what we did was we found two like ratchet bikes that were like a broken, like we found them on the beach and we took them in, and every morning before school on Fridays, we would take the bikes apart and we would spread them all over the empty cafeteria. And then we would split the boys into two groups and whichever group was able to build a bike the fastest like won a prize.
God, let me tell you, that is such a smart idea, though. I know, like, because I would have never even thought about that. I'd have been like, all right, so.
I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, you guys watch some YouTube videos this week and have something new to try out on Friday. Like, figure it out yourselves.
I love it. So, wow. So, with all of that being said and done, that's just showing you how like diverse or like difficult your schedule was just to maintain.
Right. So that year,
I
really like I didn't have time
to
think about my weight or think about what I was eating or anything. I mean, and then I was also coaching forensics after school. So I like forensics public speaking. So
Okay.
so I would leave my house at 5:30. Earlier than that if I needed to make copies before school because our copy machine was broken and took a really, really long time to copy things. And I didn't have a prep period to make copies on.
Right.
So I would leave my house at 5 or 5:30, drive an hour and 15 minutes, teach all day with no break, not even at lunch. And then I would stay after school for another hour and a half doing forensics, and then I would drive home, and then I would make dinner.
So this could have went one or two ways. You either dramatically could have lost weight, or you could actually gain weight, because some people sometimes gain when they don't like eat right.
Yeah. I gained a ton of weight because I couldn't focus on trying to eat healthy at all.
Right. You just grab what you could reach, probably just get to real quick.
Yep. And on top of that, my income was low. Like I was only getting paid $30,000, and then I was having health insurance and all the gas taken out of that. So I had to just buy I bought cheap microwave rice.
Unfortunately, the cheaper food is the worst food for you, and that's another thing that I think the USA or all of the country, all of the world has a problem with.
Yeah.
You have to eat healthy, but the healthier foods cost more money, so it's kind of like.
Yeah. So anyways, that year I started gaining weight. I got a different job the next year. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
That year I started eating healthy again, and then I started to spiral after that as well. Again. So I was, and I honestly, at that point, I think it was just the weight gain that made me spiral. Like I started seeing that I was gaining weight, and I was like, I gotta fix this fast. And so at that point I finally was like, maybe I should talk to a therapist about this.
Yeah. I was just about to ask, when did you seek some help for that? Because that is so mental. It's not even it's something that you can't even control at that point.
And my husband had been trying to tell me for a while, you should go to therapy. You should go to therapy. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Everyone should do this. Everyone struggles with their weight.
Yep.
Every woman I know diets. It's normal. Yep. But what I was doing wasn't.
Right.
And so I started going to therapy, and she was super, super helpful. I went to a place that specifically focused in disordered eating.
Oh, okay.
And so, she was amazing. So I would go once a week. She would help me work through my issues. And then eventually she thought, well, maybe I think that Prozac would help you. So I went to my doctor and I got on Prozac, and I gained 20 pounds in.
I was just about to say that it's such a weight gaining drug.
Yup. So
I was as soon as you said, I was like, this is not the right thing to give someone who's struggling with their weight. No.
Yeah, and Prozac is the number one drug that I think that people give people who have eating disorders, or it's supposed to be good for that, except that one of the side effects can be.
Yes. I mean, I know it's a good drug. I don't want to knock anybody that's listening that takes Prozac. If it works for you, that's great.
Honestly, I felt wonderful on it. I felt so much better, but I was gaining weight, and it wasn't it was puffy weight. It was when I used to eat gluten before I knew that I couldn't have it. It was this weird, my skin looked taut and puffy, and I mean, it was bad.
It's mostly a lot of water. That's even why when kids get put on Prozac, well, doctors are supposed to every time, because you usually go every 3 months for a refill of your medicine.
Yep.
So that's usually in a doctor's office for children. They usually have a scale right in the office, and I never understood. My son's autistic, so he's on some medications that actually do the same thing as the Prozac does. And I used to always wondering why he would have a scale in his office. So I'm like, you're a therapist. Why do you have a scale? And it's not a therapist for like eating disorder. He's just like a normal adolescent therapist. And that's when I discovered how so many of these psycho medicines cause weight gain. Because every 3 months they would have to weigh my son to make sure that he's not dramatically putting on weight because of how much weight it can make you gain. It's just that kind of thing.
It's crazy. And so I had to go off that.
How long were you on the Prozac before you went off of it?
I think about a year.
So let's say you did not gain weight on the Prozac, but you still felt the same way you felt. Would you have stayed on it?
I think I probably would have. Yeah. The big reason I went off it, actually, maybe it was about a year. And then I went off of it when we moved to Lansing because we were going to start trying to have kids.
Oh, yeah, you can't get any kind of,
Right. And so I went off of the Prozac. I went off of my birth control. And then we found out how expensive daycare is here in Lansing. And we can't afford it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And we'd been in our house for a year at that point, and we were just like, this is not something that we can afford. So we decided to put it on hold, but I didn't want to keep going on meds and off meds and on meds and off meds and figure it out. So I just stayed off of it. And I talked to my doctor, and they were like, well, there's this other pill that you can try. That's okay for if you do get pregnant. And I don't remember what it was called, but it was not the right medicine for me at all. It made me feel drunk. Like I would be on my way to school and my brain would feel these little
is it like clozapam maybe?
Started with a B.
I think it would be.
It was not the right thing.
I was gonna say, a lot of the medicines kind of give you that drunk kind of,
Yeah. It just was not good for me at all.
Well,
it wasn't helping it's not even like it was working, but it had weird side effects. Like it just wasn't working at all. And so the school that I work at now is such a supportive, loving, mental health focused school. Like they are amazing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't worry as much. Like, I don't know, I felt like I was in this really good place, and I loved my job, and I loved my house, and I loved where we were in life. And so I was doing better for a while in the fact that I wasn't restricting and binging, but I also wasn't really watching what I ate at all. And I was just eating whatever I felt like. And it was like, life is good. I'm going to just
enjoy life,
And so I did. And then I just kept gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. And so then I would eat healthy for a while. Like I rejoined Weight Watchers and I just stayed the same. I didn't lose. Even when I was eating like a normal amount and wasn't overeating and wasn't doing that stuff, I just stayed the same. And I was, I would work out. I had tried to do the couch to 5K thing. Nothing was, and the couch to 5K thing didn't work for me because I broke my ankle. I shattered my ankle actually, when we lived in Alma playing roller derby. And that was another thing when I was at the job where I started going to therapy. The year before therapy, I shattered my ankle and I had to be in a wheelchair. I couldn't even be on crutches.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
They wanted my foot up in the air at all times. So I was in a wheelchair for 4 months.
So you gave just from being immobile.
I was completely immobile, completely helpless. I felt like I had no control over anything. I mean, I couldn't even get dressed on my own. So that was horrible. That was really, really trying. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. So I gained a lot of weight that year, because even after I was out of the wheelchair, I couldn't walk very far at all without my ankle totally swelling up and getting bruised. I mean, I've got 6 screws and a hunk of metal in there, so it was not good.
Oh, I didn't know you had all this stuff going on, honey bunch. So let's fast forward a little bit past, like you have this incident where you were immobilized, which is, if anybody's ever been in even a cast for 6 weeks, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine it for being months upon months. Obviously now you're doing better.
Yes.
You're walking.
Yes. So, so once I realized like I couldn't work out, because I still can't. I can't run. My ankle still swells up. It's been.
So I was going to ask you, that was going to be my question. Are you still hindered now?
Yeah. And I actually went back to physical therapy this last year, and they were like, you might want to look at getting that just taken out, because like
taking out the hardware?
Yeah, the hardware. Like I've regained motion, but if I put weight on it for too much time or run for too much time, it swells up. But the big thing about this year is that when I realized I wasn't going to be able to work out to lose weight, I wasn't going to be able to do anything, and I started having some of those patterns of thought again, where I could tell that I was going to start having disordered eating.
You see the rabbit hole. You're going to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So I talked to my husband, and I was like, I think it's time that instead of going to a therapist, I go to a psychiatrist and have somebody.
Oh, I didn't realize that you had never been to a psychiatrist before. Only therapist.
No. Okay. It was a counselor, and then just my general doctor was the one that prescribed the back. And so it took 3 months to get into one, but I finally got into a psychiatrist, and she was like, yeah, the medicine they put you on isn't even for this. That's why it wasn't working for you. And she was like, that is so dumb. And so, so she put me on Zoloft, and that helped. And then I was talking to one of my coworkers, and she started talking about all of these ADHD symptoms, because she has ADHD that she has. And I was like, that's not a normal thing that people have. I just thought that's how everybody thought about things. And she would be like, no, that's like one of my major issues I have with ADHD. And I was like, huh. And then she'd say something else, and I'd be like, yeah, I do that too. And it just kind of got me thinking. So the next time I went to my psychiatrist, I said, hey, I've been wondering about this. My friend has it, and the things that she was saying kind of sound like the way that I think about things a lot of time, or what's going on in my head. So she gave me a screening, and it was like off the charts, like ADHD and attentive type. And so, I got on medication for it, and I am so much more normalized. Like, I can focus on something for a decent amount of time and get it done without having to open up 5 other things. I don't even have to worry about what I'm eating. I think that when I was in a hyper-focused mood, the thing that I automatically went to was food.
Right.
And so I was over-planning and over-obsessing about it. But really, it was just my ADHD. Like,
and tell the people out there right now, since January of 2020 till now, what's happened?
Yeah, I've lost 27 pounds, and I haven't even had to work at it. Like, yeah. I eat normal. If I'm hungry, if I'm still hungry after a meal, I eat a little bit more. If I'm not hungry and my food's not done, I just put it in the fridge and finish it later. Like,
you found a healthy way to view food.
I haven't even had to try or worry about it or have anxiety over it or anything.
It has to feel amazing.
It is like the best I've ever felt in my life. I wish that I had found out that I had ADHD back in high school.
Right.
it would have made things.
Had this be sooner than later.
Yeah, I always assumed that, and it's so dumb because I'm a teacher. So like, I know that not everyone with ADHD is hyper. I know that, but in my head, I'm like, well, I don't have those things. So
let me tell you, it's not about being dumb. We are really good at seeing the flaws in others or what other people are going through. It's really hard to see it in ourselves, and that's just true in anybody. So do not feel dumb. It's just what everybody can say what somebody else should do, and then as soon as they're in that same position, you're like, well, you just told me to do it. Why wouldn't you do it? So,
yeah. So like once I figured it out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Just imagine when you're not in lockdown, you can go out and actually work out and get out and do stuff. It will be even more so amazing. So
it's awesome. And when I first went on the meds, my students were like, why are you drinking so much water? And I was like, because I'm on a new medication and it makes me really thirsty. And I was like, you guys, because my senior English class it's an adaptive class. So it's for students who maybe have some struggles with English, even though they've taken the other courses or whatever. And I do have a lot of students in those classes that have ADHD. And so I told them, I said, I just got diagnosed with ADHD. Can you believe it? And they were all like, yeah. They were like, we all thought you knew you had it. They were like, oh, it's really obvious. So they were so sweet though those first couple of weeks when I was like learning about my medication. And the first week my feet were getting really, really cold, which was like, I was worried that maybe I wasn't going to be able to stay on the meds. And they were like, no, give it another week and it'll go away. That happened to me too. It'll be fine. Or they would ask me how I was doing with things. And they were just like, they were totally like the support that I needed when I was like first starting out with that. It was really like such a blessing. I miss my students so much.
You do. Well, that's a great segue to get into like your experience with the pinup community, because as we both talked earlier, they're very accepting of you at any size, at any time. So even though you were going through your struggles mentally about your own body image, what brought you to the first pinup world? What was intriguing?
Yeah. So I actually am also a jazz singer. That's why my pinup name is Jennie Von Jazz. Sorry, my dogs are going nuts in the background.
It's fine.
And I have always dressed in vintage when I do my performances for jazz. I won the Gratiot County Idol in 2009. And from there, I just started getting hired to do like small shows and things, and I loved it. And so I started pinup in 2018, like halfway through the summer. I went camping with my parents, and my dad said, hey, I saw this thing on Under the Radar Michigan, which is like public access TV where they go around to different places in Michigan and showcase things. And they had done an interview with some pinups at a pinup competition on it. And he said, did you know that they did that? Because that's totally your style.
Yeah.
It's like everything you're about. I think you would really like it. And so I looked into it. And when I looked it up, the first thing I found was the Batlin Betties. And they are a group that I volunteer with now. I messaged them, and Mo DeMary got back with me right away. The group is all about supporting veterans and first responders with PTSD, and not treating them, but finding resources for them, helping them out, supporting other organizations that help them. So I was like, I can dress in my vintage clothes that I love and collect all of my vintage stuff and also help people. Like,
You're like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I love this. So I pretty much joined immediately.
How was your welcoming? How has the community been treating you?
They are just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I have found my best friends in that group. My best friends. They are like my sisters. And it's
I
actually
met one of her friends at in Detroit, and
yeah.
she's an awesome chick too. She's a rock star.
Yes.
Right.
So we actually it's really funny because my 10-year class reunion was that October. And I reconnected with a couple of girls that in high school we weren't friends. We weren't enemies. We just like hung around different
Hang around the same group.
Right. And we just clicked. Like we immediately clicked. And I talked Bessie into joining. And then shortly after, Brittany joined. And, you know, we made this pact like, oh, we want to make sure we see each other at least once a month from now on. And a lot of times, you know, people say that and then whatever. No, we were seeing each other like once a week. Like we became literal like sisters.
It is the pinup community for anyone who has not had the privilege to even just try it out, come around, because you might have like a story just like this. Out of all the girls I've interviewed, they've all had a very similar experience. I'm gonna give Jennie the opportunity to also explain, like, when she got into her first competitions in 2018. What was the first? You said you did the Battling Betties, right? How did you do?
Yeah, I joined the Battling Betties, which is the volunteer aspect.
Okay.
So I joined them, and then I started looking for pinup competitions.
Okay.
And the first one that I joined was in Marshall, Michigan, and it was called the Vintage Vixens.
Oh, okay, I've heard of this one.
Pinup competition, yep. And it was really small. It was put on by a beauty parlor. But I took first, and it was my very first competition, and I couldn't believe it. So from that point on, I was like, oh my gosh. And a photographer stopped me before the competition and was like, hey, let's do some photo shoots with these cars. So that was like my first pinup photo shoot as well. And I just was like, this is my thing. Like, this is what I'm doing now. So I immediately like started looking up all of these other competitions and joined. My second one was Relics Riot, which is huge. It's at the Gilmore Car Museum. And I took runner-up in that one that year. It was
sounds like your first year of pinup was pretty successful.
It was, and I felt so good about it. You know, every time I went to one of these, I was like, it's not just me thinking I'm cute in this dress. It's not just me like enjoying this outfit I put together.
Yep.
Like,
so did that give you a confidence booster?
It really, really did. Like, it really was like, okay, I can like dress cute.
And this is before she lost the recent almost 30 pounds. So this was before that. So
oh yeah, this was way before that. And like I'll share pictures from it too. So, and that was it was amazing. That first year I won the Vintage Vixen one. I took runner up at both Relics and the Hot Wheels one. I took runner up at the Zombie one in October.
Oh wow, you were just killing it.
And that was actually before Bessie and Brittany joined, but we hit it off so well at our high school reunion. They made t-shirts and they came to the Zombie one with me in Jackson, which is like a couple hours from their house. And they came and they supported me and they cheered me on. And it was like, I just felt like I finally found my people. And like, I finally just like felt good without having to worry about like, what are other people thinking of me, you know? Because that like, it was just people giving me compliments the whole time.
It's a very big confidence booster, and it's a very good experience for if you do have a little bit of self-doubt.
Yeah.
Leave that area, that competition, or that that photo shoot you did or whatever. It just gives you that feeling of just feeling on top of the world. That's like the best way to describe it.
It so does. Yeah.
So this is another great segue. I'm going to kind of like leave it to you now to drop your little pearls of wisdom. This is the part where I ask you to help a fellow pinup who might be a baby pinup, or maybe she's been in it for a while, but she still hasn't found her confidence, or a young lady who is struggling with her confidence right now, what would be a pearls of wisdom you would give her?
So my pearl of wisdom that I've really been focusing on actually comes from Robin. Now I can't remember her last name, but she is like one of the lead singers for Postmodern Jukebox.
Okay.
And I met her at a concert, and she told me to don't worry about trying to like be someone else or like have your inspiration. Don't worry about trying to copy your inspiration. Like, be you. So like I've taken that and I've really thought about that and taken it to heart, that I'm not trying to be Marilyn. I may have gotten her haircut, but I'm not trying to be Marilyn. I'm trying to be Jeannie. Like, I'm my own pinup.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't get that aren't in the pinup community. I have a lot of people that ask me like, oh, well, who do you dress up as? Or who are you trying to look like? I'm trying to look like me. I'm trying to look like me if I lived in the 50s, like,
right.
Or
like
the 40s,
or
the 20s.
Or put me in that time period, I will be the same Jeannie, just
exactly.
in a different outfit. That's basically all it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so it's, and I think that's amazing. Like, for me, that's such inspiration to be able to say, like, I'm being me, and I have fans, and I have people.
And you have people that love you for being you, not because you're being Marilyn, not because you're being someone else, because you were you.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you, at Detroit, because this is my first time ever meeting you, when we took the first, second, and third runner-up and for the Miss Autorama, the thing that the judges came and told all three of us, the reason why we made it to the top three was because they said we stayed just the truest to who we were. Like, they said we did not come across as we were trying to portray someone. We weren't being like a alter ego. It was like we were just being us.
Exactly. And I even dress vintage at school sometimes, like probably at least once or twice a week. And my students love it because they know that I'm being genuine to myself. And it helps me to promote that message for them too. Like, look at me, I'm wearing a petticoat to school. You can wear whatever you comfortable in. You get to be you, So yeah, it's cool. It's like this amazing message that I've always wanted to have in my head, and pinup helps me to actually like follow it and believe it and live it.
I'm gonna tell you, I like the way you are, and that's one of the reasons why I chased you down to interview you, because I was like, I met you, and there's not too many people when I meet them for the first time, I just generally like click and really like the person. And
I felt the same way about you.
Oh, thank you. So that's why I was like, what are we going to do? I asked her. I hit her up like 1,500 times because I really knew that she had a good story, because she shared the funny story about starting the new medication and how her students were like, you didn't know? Like, as soon as she told me that story, I was like, I love her, because she was being real at that moment. She didn't know me from a can of cake, but she knew that she felt comfortable enough. That was who she was. She's not ashamed of it. She was like, this is who I am. I need to take this. Now I can focus. Who would have known? Like, it was just like that. Right. It was just like that genuine that I was like, I love her. So thank you again for coming on my show, Jennie. Like, I really appreciate it. Thank you
for having me.
Oh, of course. I've been wanting you. And just keep that attitude. Congratulations for the weight loss. But like I told you before, even if you didn't lose like another pound, you look great.
Thank you.
Just know that. And for all you guys out there, if you haven't hit like and subscribe, and do what Jennie said. Keep your crown straight. Walk out there with confidence and just be who you are. And as long as you're being you, there's nothing else anybody can ever ask of you.
Exactly.
And if they want you to be someone different, they're probably not good people for you.
It's true. Yeah, if anybody ever is trying to make you change who you are, not worth it.
Not worth it. Not worth it at all. They should love you for you. Just like I love Jennie for her. All right. Well, I will see you guys later. You hang on, Jennie. I'll talk to you a little bit afterwards. But like I said, thank you for joining Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. Please join us next time with our next beautiful pinup. See you guys later. Bye.